Let me take you back to the past, specifically October 2nd, 1959. The pilot episode of The Twilight Zone premiered on CBS and history was made. After that, audiences tuned in week after week to see what else could possibly come out of The Twilight Zone. The show was done in an anthology format. Basically, every week it'd be a different character. The only thing that linked these episodes together was the host Rod Serling himself. The Twilight Zone didn't have a lot of monsters, but it had lots of dialogue, and the way they used their words to convince you to be intrigued by it was something that was a staple of the time. Lately I've been thinking, what are my favorite Twilight Zone episodes? I mean, with 156 episodes, it's hard to choose, so it had to come down to something. Well, it took a lot of progress and time, but I think I finally nailed it. Here are JRM's top 10 Twilight Zone episodes. Number 10. Walking Distance. In this episode, a tired businessman waits for his car to be repaired. He realizes that he's near his old town where he grew up, so he decides to walk by just to look at the place. He sees that nothing has changed. In fact, exactly nothing has changed. He learns that he has walked back in time to witness his own youth. At first, he rejoices in the fact that this has happened, but the world he left does not accept him back. This is an episode more for adults because it does show that you have to move on with your life. You can't dwell on the past. You can't keep living in there. You have to move on and see what life has ahead of you. I can't fully appreciate this episode yet because I am still an adolescent teen, but I'm sure as I age, I'll appreciate it more. Heck, maybe in the future it might be my favorite out of all of them. You never know what the future holds. Number 9. The Purple Testament. In this episode, a 1945 World War II soldier claims that when he looks into the faces of certain people, he knows they will die soon. Soon everyone hears of his talent, and everyone wants to know if they're gonna get the axe next. Whenever he sees somebody with the look, we see it too, so we know he's not making it up. It's not up for debate. This look exists, and he knows who's gonna kick the bucket next. It's all a suspense game of who's gonna die next. We all know these characters, and whenever he sees the look, we know there's no way they're getting out of it. I can't say much more of this episode, because I'll give away the ending. And that's something I don't want to do for any of these. Number 8. A World of His Own. Gregory West is a marvelous playwright with an extraordinary machine. Whenever he describes a character in his tape recorder, they come alive. So when his wife comes home and sees him with another woman that he's dictated, he's got to prove to her that she isn't real. This is one of the more lighthearted Twilight Zones. It has more of a comedic feel, but it works very well. We see how naggy his wife is, and we understand why he wants a little bit of an escape. And doesn't everybody deserve an escape from their life once in a while? And that's what this episode is. It's an escape from all the seriousness of the series, and has a more comedic tone that makes it enjoyable in its own way. Number 7. A Passage for Trumpet. Jack Klugman gives a pinnacle performance as Joey Crown, a roundabout trumpeter who has lost everything due to his battle with the bottle. Because of his addiction to alcohol, he's lost almost everything. He's not what he used to be, and we know he has talent because throughout the whole episode, everyone's telling him how good he used to be. He's so addicted to it that he ends up pawning his trumpet for money. Shortly after, he realizes that there's nothing left to live for, so he jumps in front of a truck, but then he wakes up realizing that no one can hear or see him. He comes to the conclusion that he is in fact dead. While he's dead, he takes advantage of the situation and goes to explore the town, where he once was. He describes how good life used to be and how he wished he could have just turned it all around. We realize how sympathetic he was and how he really was being turned in the wrong direction due to his alcohol addiction. He later learns that he made a huge mistake, and he wants to get back to living. The reason I like this episode so much is because of its moral. No matter how much in the dumps you are, there's always a silver lining. Number 6. Nightmare at 20,000 Feet. In this episode, William Shatner plays a man who just recovered from having a mental breakdown. While flying on a plane, he claims to see a gremlin on the side of the wing. No one believes him because whenever other people come, the gremlin leaves. Now at this point in the episode, We're supposed to wonder whether Shatner is really insane because he's the only one that sees it. I mean, where else could that gremlin go? It's almost impossible. In fact, look at how big that thing is. How is that thing hiding? The episode makes us as an audience guess whether or not Shatner is really insane or whether there really is a gremlin on the side. Number 5. Living Doll. Telly Savalas plays a complete, utter asshole in this episode. One day his wife and stepdaughter come home with an expensive doll. He's furious that they bought it, and the doll starts talking to him, saying how it's gonna kill him. The only catch is that the doll only talks this way when he's alone with it, so nobody else believes him. Once again, Telly Savalas is really mean in this episode. He goes as far as to make his own stepdaughter cry. That is heartless. He tries to get rid of it, but it doesn't work. We see the tension build between his family and him and wonder whether his family's playing a trick, whether the doll really is alive, or maybe he's driving himself insane. Number 4. The Hitch-hiker. A woman is on a cross-country road trip and keeps passing the same hitchhiker along the way. The simplicity is brilliant. I think this works because I think at every point in somebody's life we feel we're being watched, whether it's the first time our parents leave us alone or whether we're just lying in bed. It's a scary thing to think that somebody is watching us and we don't know what their intentions are. We sympathize with the character in the episode because she's alone. It's almost as if we're taking the trip with her. It's almost as if he's stalking us along with her. The creepiest part about this guy is he only points. He doesn't say, "Hey, I need a lift." He just points in what direction he wants to go. It may sound simple, but the payoff is well worthwhile. Number 3. To serve man. In this episode, aliens land on Earth and say that their mission in life is to serve man. So, they do. They bring man over to their planet to visit, and everything is hunky-dory. But some people feel that the aliens aren't telling the whole truth. Because we still can't read their language, people are still trying to crack a code of their holy Bible, per se, which is called To Serve Man. Yeah, I know, the aliens look stupid, but the payoff, again, is amazing. Number 2. The Invaders. Agnes Moorehead plays an old farm maid exiled from civilization. One night, a mini flying saucer lands on her roof, and the invaders pop out. She does what anybody would do if she saw these things. She tries to destroy them. I mean, look at how small these things are. The strongest point of this episode is that there's no dialogue whatsoever, so it depends heavily on visuals. It's dark, creepy, suspenseful, and there are times when it seems that she will lose the fight. And my number 1 Twilight Zone episode is Eye of the Beholder. All I have to say is wow. Just wow. This episode is pure genius. When Rod Serling wrote this episode, he knew he caught lightning in a bottle. It's about a woman who is rejected so much by society because of the way she looks, she has to go get plastic surgery just to change her face. That's hard. Throughout the whole episode, we learn how much of a struggle it's been and how everyone has treated her. We learn how mentally she's been scarred because of the way she looks and because of the way people treat her. Just the way it's shot is amazing. I mean, it's mostly in the dark, and it's just beautiful to look at. This is possibly the most beautiful episode of The Twilight Zone to look at ever. We see the strains that she goes through and what the doctors go through. I really want to talk about this episode, but there's nothing else I can say because I'll give away the ending. And the ending is something that's got to be seen to be believed. It is undoubtedly the best episode of the entire series. Well, those were my top 10 Twilight Zone episodes, and I hope you found them interesting. Maybe your list is similar, maybe it's not, maybe you haven't even heard of the Twilight Zone. But one thing is for sure, I didn't want to give away the endings because they're just great. In fact, why am I still talking? Go watch them right now.